Well, since we got this butcher block countertop that we recycled from, well, it was a table that we got with our house 15 years ago, so we've had it forever. My wife was saying she wanted something similar on the other side, since we have the fridge over here now, and maybe a little piece to go across here, so we thought we might go, down to IKEA or something and pick up a cheap piece of butcher block. But then all of a sudden I recalled that I had this piece out in the garage. And this was one of my old workbenches. I had pieces screwed on at a right angle so I could assemble cabinet frames. It was when I was building kitchens. So it's pretty thrashed, but if I flip it over, it's beautiful. Beautiful maple. And there's not too many holes here and there, but those can be filled easily. And I'll be able to maximize this. Welded wood, Michigan Maple Block Company. I don't even recall where I got this. It was probably removed from a job I was doing, but anyhow. So we're going to see how that looks in there as the other countertop. Well, I want to be able to salvage as much as this wood as possible. So what I've done is I've made a mark right here. I fit about 57 inches so I can get rid of any imperfections. And then I set this piece back 1.5 inches. And now I'm going to use the jigsaw to cut this edge off. I'd use my skill saw, but both of them broke. So on to the next tool. Well, here we go. I've been sanding the hell out of it, and I got most of that stuff off of it. This is some heavy duty, probably like 60 grit sandpaper. I mean, I've used this on several things. It's way too thick for this, but what I'm doing is going with the grain, sliding back and forth so I don't scratch it this direction, and it's turning out great. Then I'm going to go back over it with 120 grit, and it should be beautiful. And the bus at Lowe's, picking up some stuff you knows. Dun, 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 dun. All the little crap really adds up when you're doing a bus. I mean, this is like $150 worth of stuff with 2 little boards like that. Alright, well, I got some of this project wood. It's pretty affordable. I think it's like 15 bucks for this piece. And then I'm taking these upper shelf pieces that go in the back. It kind of goes partially over the left couch and then partially over my bed. And I had to kind of change up the shape a little bit right here on this part because it's going to cut into a window. But they're going to come up and it's going to meet up with the inside of the shelf, and I'll show you when I get to it. Alright, now I got my lines where I want them, and I'm going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to have to splice a piece on here afterwards. Alright, one of the cuts made, and I bought a new blade for my jigsaw, and I tell you, it makes all the difference. Well, I cut that first shelf and spliced it in with the piece. Somewhere in here there's a seam. There we go. Put a couple screws in it. It wraps right around to the window. And to this side it just kind of curves it around to the wall. And then I also have these 2 shelves that are going to go up there, so I'm going to put those up now. Well, here we are today. I have a funky shelf here that I'm working on. It's designed to notch, well, this goes inside one of the boxes that I have built on either side of my bed. And then it's got a couple of curved shelves that go to each side. They had to be different in order to match the sizes I have. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk for a minute about this white wood project board stuff that I bought. These are 1x2s that have been glued together just like a butcher block countertop, but it's lighter material, most likely pine, and it's sold in these big pieces that are like, it could be 16 inches by 4 feet or 8 feet or 20 inches by 8 feet. It's actually very cost effective when you're working on building things out of it like shelves, and then you don't have to have the plywood exposed edge to cover up. You'll still have kind of a butcher block look on the edge, but what I'm going to do here is I've got this Minwax dark walnut stain, and I'm going to just go to town on it. I sanded this first with 120 and then went over it with 180. It's recommended Most people who, before you stain or varnish, will go over it with at least a 220 grit. I'm not that particular unless I'm doing very, 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 very hard woods or very, very soft woods. That may sound funny, but sometimes it's really hard to get, you know, hardwoods down to the to a manageable softness to where it will absorb properly. But when it comes to softwoods, sometimes they just get really fluffy, and you just keep sanding and sanding and sanding, and they just get fluffier and fluffier. It just doesn't seem to ever really sand out. So here's what we've got for there. Boom. Just want to be consistent with stain. You don't have to worry about getting it all in one area at one time. It'll take up what it wants to take up. And the rest, well, you can wipe off usually. Some woods, it's much more difficult to stain because they actually will take up more stain in some areas, and that tends to happen with softer woods. So the softer the wood you have, the harder it is to get consistency. But okay, well, last night after I made my other shelves and used up most of my material, I had one big piece left, so I cut a shelf for up above the fridge area, and then I just figured out how much scrap I had left. It was only like 38 inches, so I needed to make 6 shelves, so I divided that and ended up with 6-inch shelves, which was kind of nice because actually I didn't really even look to see what the actual opening is. Let's see. It's 5 7/8 by 5 1/4, so, you know, whatever. Relatively close. I just, actually, I think I inverted these. Yes, I did. These were supposed to be flipped, so there was a slightly wider one at the bottom. But, at any rate, I don't care too much. Over here, I've got a laminate trimmer. This is just a little chintzy one. It's a Ryobi, which is, you know, the whatever brand, Home Depot or something, I think. But, actually, some of their tools are pretty good. So what I'm going to do is open up this box here and see what we have to play with as far as designs. Okay, so we've got rounding bits, we've got flush cut bits, fluting bits, and OG detail, and this is for cutting slots. So do I want an OG detail, or do I want to, oh, here's another box up here. Here we go. What else do I have? Just more OG and another inside coving bit. So, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these and pop it in here, and then I'm going to go around the insides of this and just kind of give it a little bit of, I don't know, dimension. So we'll see how this turns out. Well, magnets are your best friend. You'll have seen the table here. I pulled I've got the stand for the table here, which is all varnished up. Could use another coat probably, but it's good enough. This is the couch cushions, which we just are still working on here. They're just pinned on. But this down here is on hinges, and it just pushes open. Has a piece of felt right down here on the bottom of it, so it'll slide nicely across the floor. And when it closes, it's got this little magnet over here on the corner. I still have to paint over it, and then a magnet here on the inside. And when I close it, it just goes tink, pulls itself shut. It's perfect. So then the table can pull out right here like this, nice and shiny. Ooh, maple. And there's my boy, Soy. He's loving it too. Then everything here is varnished up, all beautiful and shiny. Look at that wood. Look at that grain. And we've got a whole bunch of stuff over here. It's all slowly drying with varnish on it. And I'm going to drop more stuff. Alright, there we go.
Hi!
Oh, and an awesome shelf up here that's all varnished too. And we even put a little bit on here because, you know, gotta have some shiny shelf fungus too. Alright, well, here's a quick update. Coming up the stairs. The seat has been bolted in, so we took our initial voyage, our first drive. There's one of my temporary curtains I sewed up on the sewing machine. And then I made a second curtain, and that's just kind of precariously stuck in there. But it works really well. And down here we've got the standard countertop, which has several coats of lacquer, as I've shown before. But I also mounted this. I couldn't figure out exactly how I wanted to do it. So back here, I actually mounted sticks to the back all the way down. That's a piece of walnut. It just had a design on the side. It was already routed. I didn't bother to mess with it. Sometimes I'll just leave something. It's as good enough, especially in my own place. So I attached that to the back with 2 big ass screws and then 2 big ass screws up top, and that was the easiest way to make sure it was strong. And then my wife and I agreed on a third shelf up here, which that one's attached with a screw up here and 2 screws down there, so I can remove it actually if we decide to replace it, or I want to add another coat of lacquer or whatnot, because it needs some work. I'm actually using wipe-on poly, and I'll tell you, this stuff right here is my favorite stuff in the world for making wood absolutely gorgeous. So we've got the refrigerator, and then our little area for putting whatever, and then the table is down there that folds out. I built this unit, which fits in the doorway, and it also fits on the outside, so when the table's out, you can put it out there for spices or whatnot. Moving on, we've got the couch over here, and we just put these cushions in. They're just pinned on in the back, but they're sewn on in the front. It was our first experiment, and I didn't do very well sewing it. One's better than the other, but they work. And then down here, I've got the little magnetic part, the table. Everything here has several coats of poly on it. And there's the table leg. And then up here behind the bed we have one shelf right here and a canoe up top mounted already. Another shelf over here, and then this one, which is just, I was thinking about putting like some sort of a stick, a permanent like decorative stick. That mushroom right there, to tell you the truth, I'll show you what I wanted to do with this. I just want to confirm with my wife first, but as a handle coming up instead of a handrail, I think it would be so sweet. So I cut it all even on the back. And these things are surprisingly strong, so if I bolted it on, I think it might be pretty cool. Just like these ones here, and these ones over here. The shelf fungus here, which I just, while I had the poly out, I just put some shine on them too, or at least in spots. And then we've got this upper shelf unit right here, which I'm going to put sliding doors on. Speaker wires I ran behind, and everything's a little sloppy at the moment until I'm finished. The only thing in here that the previous guy built was this cabinet up here, which looks like hell, but I'm going to fix that too. And the final thing here, yeah, I just took off all the paint on this. These are all the controls for the heat and the heat and the lighting and stuff. So got my CB and my ham radio over here and everything, and everything's pretty well lacquered up, good to go. Loving it, feeling good about this thing. Thanks for coming along on the journey. I'll probably be uploading a video here if this ends up going on YouTube. I'll end up doing a final video when this is all finished from beginning to end, showing the whole process, because it was a fun one. Take care now. And the canoe has been mounted on the bus. It's on. It's a little bit crooked, but it's on. Very slightly crooked. The ordeal. Nice.